We're back, folks. Freedom Forum on this, the 22nd day of the 8th month, year of our Lord Jesus the Christ, 2012. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, give us the strength, the wisdom, and the courage to do your will in all things. And we ask that you confuse or convert our enemies. In Jesus the Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
And as you can tell, we have Stephanie Skinner back tonight. We'll hear from Stephanie shortly and some project she's working on. But first, our next regular meeting, public meeting of Freedom Forum, will be September 6th, the first Thursday of next month. And we'll be doing something special. You can bring your AK and your AR and bring them with 2 empty magazines, no ammo. We're going to be doing some function checking, etc. on them. And concerned citizens of Vermilion Parish are meeting a week from tomorrow, Thursday, August 30th at 6 p.m. at the Vermilion Parish Library in Abbeville, 405 East St. Victor Street in Abbeville. Concerned citizens of Vermilion Parish, their August meeting. And the Lake Charles Gun Show is coming up September 1st and 2nd at the Civic Center on the lake in Lake Charles, 9 to 5 on Saturday and 9 to 4 on Sunday. Lake Charles Gun Show, 1st and 2nd. They always hold it on Labor Day weekend. And Stephanie is doing a drone contest, as we announced last week on the show. The drawing for the contest will be at the next meeting on September 6th, so you got plenty of time to get your essay in.
Yes.
The essay will be not graded, not judged on content or anything. It's going to be the reason for the essays is to let elected officials know how y'all feel about these drones in our skies. And we're going to put the address up where you mail your essay. And there's several prizes, which I'm going to show later after Stephanie talks about smart meters with you a little bit. And then we'll get into some other goodies. Stephanie attended the City Parish Council meeting on Tuesday, and it was quite an eye-opener.
Yes.
So we'll let her tell you a little bit about that and other things. Go ahead, Stephanie.
Yes. Thank you so much, Mr. Parker, for having me. Hello, Acadiana. All righty. Okay, I need you, Acadiana. I need you to really listen to me. Please run and get a pen. And as you're getting this pen, I'm going to set up a scenario for you. I want you to grab your child. I want you to take that child and put that baby in front of a mirror. I want you to look at tiny little baby hands. Or if you have a mature child, a child that's 14 or 16, look at that maturing body. Okay, I want you to look at that maturing body. If you have grandbabies and they're not with you, or children that aren't with you, I want you to close your eyes and imagine them right there. And also look at yourself in the mirror, because, friends, we're being assaulted with a biohazard. These things are dangerous. Dr. Ali Johannesson, PhD, Department of Neuroscience, Karolinski Institute from Sweden, and Magda Vavas, PhD, Professor of Environmental and Resource Studies of Trent University in Canada. They're against these things. I mean, I've done research, and doctors everywhere it's scary. Now, the smart grid concept is here. They are in the process of putting them in every home, every school, in every business, in electricity and gas. So you have 2 of these things on your house, and the effects of them are from 1 to 6 feet away, Acadiana. So you have these beams, I'm going to go on. You have electromagnetic radiation, microwave radiation, beaming through your house, beaming through your body, beaming through your cell structure. I'm going to get to the symptoms. Also, with your pen, you need to write down this. Seletun Scientific Statement. SELETUN Scientific Statement. Google bar that. Google bar the SAGE report. SAGE means truth. And in many instances, wireless meters will violate FCC public safety limits in the manner they are installed or operated. Well, how are these things installed and operated? please let us know. Let us know, Mr. Yuval, and anybody in all the gas companies. Let us know, because I know you want to make sure that we know. They are electromagnetic frequency. They are around the clock, 24/7. So even as you sleep, you cannot escape from these things. You cannot escape from them, Acadiana. Now, the symptoms are a pathological blood-brain barrier. Can also pose cancer risk. Can also impair DNA, impairment of DNA repair. It can cause headaches, neurological symptoms. Remember that one, neurological symptoms. Nausea, cancer risk, seizures, fatigue, cardiac risk. And it's just on and on and on, and possibly even breathing problems. Now, council members, mayors, any public servant, you need to, we throw parties for you, and we love you, and we march the streets for your campaigns, and we know you love us, and we know that you're good people, and it's just time that we stand together for our children. So please, 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 let's get together and let's be aggressive and tell people what's going on. Show us the insert. There's warnings on plastic bags to keep them away from your toddler, which is absurd. But, these things, where's the warning? Where's the potential side effects? How come we're not given that? So please provide that to us. And if they're safe, and if there's only a little radiation, I don't want a little radiation. I don't want my daughter to have a little radiation. So, talk to us and just be honest with us. It's time. And also, it's for the kids. We've got to disclose this information to the public. There should be doctors. If they are safe, bring the doctors. Bring the Lafayette doctors. If you have, great, thank you very much. We want to see them. We demand to know. This is God's body. My body is God's body, and I know that no one wants to hurt it. I don't understand what's wrong with the council. I don't know, because they couldn't answer my questions, and they just didn't know. I don't know if they're being strong-armed by another company. I don't know if they're being strong-armed at the top. I don't know what it is, guys, but we can stand together as a state and a community for our children. It's a necessity. And then also, where were the votes on these, Acadiana? How come this one put up to a vote? Also, a lot of people are handicapped and they're geriatric, or for some reason they can't go to opt out. You have to be physically there in Lafayette Parish to opt out. They won't send anyone to your home. You're not allowed to sign forward on your bill. You're just not allowed to opt out unless you physically go there. So I asked the council if there was a shuttle service for people to protect their families if they didn't want the radiation, even if they say it's a little radiation. We're not worthy of that. And so I want to implement a shuttle system if they won't do so. But you can opt out in Lafayette Parish. I know you can. And thank you for that, great council, for that option. But we still demand, doctors touting these things, please. And we do. And the number is, grab your pen, guys, 337-291-8280. I'm going to repeat it one more time. Like I said, you're going to have to go in there. But call. We're very respectful, Acadiana. Call and ask for an insert. Call. Do it for your babies. Do it for you, because you're worth it. And call and ask questions, but be very kind, because we're loving, respectful people. It's 337-291-8280. And if you have problems opting out, here's a number that you can call. It is 337-205-3122. I'm almost done here. Mr. Parker has a lot to talk about, but I appreciate it so much, the microphone. Also, media. All the TV stations, all the radio stations around. If you've covered this, wonderful. And I thank you so much. But let's really come together on this. We need to all come together. Get aggressive for our children. Talk show radios. Y'all bring in the morning, y'all bring in doctors. Let's defend our children. It's time to step up for our children. There's just these biohazards attached to our home. And then our schools. Think about the schools. And I asked the council last night, I said, well, we have the lottery under the guise of kids being smart and we're paying for their education, but then they're in school beaming on them 24/7, these smart meters, and so they cause neurological damage they can. So what's the point in that? Please just explain it to us, because we deserve to know. Yeah, but we all need to stand together. We want to see the doctors, media. We want to see the protection of our children council. And I know you're good people. We're all going to do this together. And it's time to stand. And also, media, everyone would be so respectful, because and ratings would soar if we would do this, because it's about our children, and God blesses those who bless our children. And thank you, Mr. Parker.
Well, thank you, Stephanie. Good job.
Thank you.
And folks, the interesting thing about these is that they've already been installed in some parts of the country,
Yes.
and people have already noticed effects from them. Some people that are more sensitive than others have passed by these meters and actually can feel them as they're passing by. So don't tell me there's nothing wrong with them. All right, thanks a lot, Steph. We'll get the number out again. Okay. For the drone contest, jot that address down. That's where you're going to mail your entry. And if you have any questions, you can call us here on the show, or email me, or email Stephanie at that. Is that the right email address, the way it's spelled there?
It's S-T-E.
Steffi Skinner.
But it's P-H. Oops.
It's P-H. It's S-T-E-P-H.
Yes, that's the only typo.
Okay, there's a typo. We'll get that fixed. All right. Let me show you the prizes that will be drawn on September 6th at our regular public meeting. So, no, we're going to draw on the show,
Yes, sir.
and you come to the meeting on September 6th and pick them up. That's right.
Unless we mail twice.
We'll have the drawing right here on September 5th. Here's Janet Napolitano as a dung beetle. And this is a beautiful one. This was by your friend up in
Brett,
Michigan.
Utah. Yes, Brett's
Yeah.
murals.
Isn't that gorgeous?
Yes.
And by the way, we gave those away at the meeting last Thursday. Here's a alien attack app gun for iPhone or iPod for the children, and a remote control helicopter. Those are new. We didn't have these so far. Oops. Got a couple of videos. Got the old standbys we had last week, the walkie-talkies, and the remote control car. Remember, the age limit is 40, but if you're over 40, go ahead and submit an entry anyway about drones. Do some research on the internet. And then there's a couple of, was one missing, got a $100 bill and 2 silver dollars and a 1/20th ounce gold coin. And so that's several prizes. So we need to get your essays in to the address. We'll show it again on the screen and fix the email. Or you can send any emails to me. Don't email your contest, because it's going to go to, Stephanie's going to make copies of each of the essays, and they're going to be mailed to our elected officials. If they're from Louisiana, they'll be sent to our governor. If you're from another state, and Stephanie's doing this on her, what do you call that thing you're doing that
Facebook.
on? Facebook. Okay.
Facebook.
I've heard of that before. Where have I heard of that?
Homeland.
Anyway, oh, that's right. I'm a terrorist because I'm not on it. So, which I can see their logic, because they're using that now to catch people doing things they don't like, and they're keeping track of you on Facebook using that. Since Facebook is part of their plan, their system, anybody that's not on it's obviously trying to hide from them. So obviously we're crazy or terrorists or something. Anyway, do your best effort. Handwritten is fine, okay, and be respectful. No profanity. We will deep six any that are disrespectful toward elected officials or anybody for that matter, even me. If you want to be disrespectful toward me, you can send me an email. I won't mind. I'll answer. And I'll be nice. I'm always nice. Okay. You got the, that's Stepphie, Skinner.
That's
Okay.
right.
All right. Got it right up there. Drone contest. Okay. All right. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty stuff here. First, there was some interesting stuff on C-SPAN and in the news. Not a lot this past week. Not a lot because they have a tendency to dwell on the election and, of course, 3 nincompoops acting goofy. They jumped on them, and that's all we heard about for the last several days, especially since 2 of them happened to be Republicrats, and one of them was one of those English royalty types. Which we're not going to get into, but other than to say that, yeah, they were nincompoops for whatever they did. They had no business doing it, but oh well. That just goes to show there's not a lot of difference between a Republicrat and a demon rat. On C-SPAN, there was an interesting program this weekend. Had the 10th anniversary Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Party by the Independence Institute. Excuse me. The Independence Institute is some good guys, apparently. I'm going to do some more research on them. You can go to their website. It's i2i.org. What they meant by alcohol, tobacco, and firearms was not what you think. But then again, they drank their best brandy, smoked their best cigars, and shot their best guns at this party. And it's sponsored by the Daily Caller, among others, whose editor spoke at the program. He also writes their Guns and Gear section. The Daily Caller is another one we want to look at, and apparently they got some real good news items, so we'll probably be quoting them in the near future when I get a chance to go on there. They're also starting an LGBT column. You know what that stands for. I'm not going to tell you. But for them, it's lasagna, guns, beans, and tobacco. Among other things, they quoted C.S. Lewis on busybody government, which I'm going to use that on the show. I've got those saved. I'm compiling a list of things to send out to everybody, and if you're on my email list, you'll get them, some interesting quotes. But the best comment was, again, about the nanny culture. And his conclusion was that we're going to have revenge against them. All we have to do is realize that we're happy and they're not, because he expounded about how the nanny statists are never very happy people. They're always grouchy, and of course they're always grumping at us, and we're rarely grumping at them. So, a couple of other interesting little tidbits that were on this week I need to pass on, because it shows how bizarre things are getting out there. The city of Detroit, which is probably in the worst shape of any city of decent size in this country, they've got a union job, a horseshoer who's paid $58,000 a year to shoe non-existent horses. They have no horses on the city payroll in Detroit, but he's a union job, so we have to keep him on. The other thing was about this Fast and Furious stuff. You know, the BATFE allowing guns to be bought against their rules. In fact, telling the gun dealers to go ahead and sell guns to people that they knew were violating the rules. And then they were supposedly, the excuse was they were going to follow them across the border and find out who was in charge of the gun running. And they never did do that, of course. Well, there's 2 points on that. One is what has come out in an independent audit of this situation. The guy that was in charge of that program has been put on leave. He's operations deputy director, Will McMahon, and the problem is that his leave has been paid. His leave is getting paid 6 figures. He's getting paid in the 100,000 plus range. And while he's on leave, he's allowed to hold down, which is illegal, by the way, he's allowed to hold down a job as chief of security in Philadelphia for J.P. Morgan. Do we smell more crony capitalism here? So this was probably the worst of the BS that came out on the news. But another little interesting tidbit that's firsthand. A friend of mine came by the house yesterday. Had to go in the hospital over the weekend for dehydration. And after he was done getting treated, etc., they came to collect. And he doesn't have any insurance. He's a small businessman, and business is bad in his line of work. And so he told them that, and they said, well, you're going to have to make some arrangements. And then they went on to the next individual sitting next to him, and she was a Hispanic-looking lady who didn't have any insurance either, but she had a green card. They took her green card. That was okay. She didn't have to pay anything. Anybody know why people with green cards don't have to pay for any health care? Does anybody have an idea as to why that is? Call in if you know. We'll try and get some other information. Call in if they don't know? Well, yeah. But I find it kind of odd that an American is not allowed to slide, but somebody with a green card. Who's paying for that then because of that green card? Ask yourself. A little piece of good news. Atheist organization is demanding that a Massachusetts high school band stop playing God Bless America at school functions because it violates separation of church and state. Oh, that reminds me, we've got a contest of our own that's been ongoing for the last 20 years. We have a $100 bill waiting for anybody that can show us separation church and state in the Bill of Rights, in the Constitution, anywhere. It's supposed to be in Article 1 of the Bill of Rights, but it's not. Maybe it's someplace else and we miss it, but we got a $100 bill for anybody that can find it. Just like we've got a $100 bill for anybody that can find republic versus democracy in there. Okay? We're supposed to be a republic, not a democracy. Where's democracy in the Constitution? Show us. It's not there. The Freedom from Religion Foundation is telling Wayland High School officials that playing God Bless America is an unconstitutional act. The band played the song on 2 occasions of American patriotism, Pearl Harbor Day and Memorial Day. An attorney with this organization took issue with the phrase, as we raise our voices in solemn prayer. School officials have stated they plan to ignore the warning. The superintendent, Dr. Paul Stein, responded, there has to be a sense about whether the schools are fostering the promotion or practice of religion, and I don't believe the band playing God Bless America does that. The founder and chairman of Liberty Counsel is pleased that school officials agree with those that say this argument is out of bounds. Not only that, not only is it out of bounds, it is typical, okay, of what we're fighting. Okay, we've got some stuff on Article 2, as we usually do here, that I want to bring out real quick and then get into some economic stuff. From the Western Rifle Shooters Association, General James Mattis, United States Marine Corps, be polite, be professional, but have a plan to kill everyone you meet. Not my words, his. I'm just quoting. The U.S. government has ordered massive amounts of ammunition in recent months, including, but not excluding others. The Department of Homeland Tyranny is stockpiling hollow point ammo of all calibers and double-aught buckshot and other stuff. Wait a second. Go ahead, caller. You're on the air.
How you doing?
Good, sir. What
This
you
is
got?
Jason Muntz.
Say
I
again?
just want to, my name is Jason Muntz. I just want to say how terrific your program is and how much it means the world to me for someone to get up and to put out the facts that need to be heard. And I just wanted to give that quote. And first, let's give glory to God first off, and keep doing what you're doing. We need you.
Well,
Thank you. Bye.
thank you, Jason. Appreciate that. Here's to you. I'll drink to you. And come to our meeting when you get a chance. Okay. Appreciate those words, Jason. Just wait. You're going to hear some more words in a second from some other people that we don't like so much. But the government, DHS, has ordered the following, and you see if you can figure out why. Over 1 million rounds of hollow point 223 ammo, 500,000 rounds of non-hollow point 223 ammo, 220,000 rounds of 12 gauge number 7 shot, which is basically bird shot target loads, over 200,000 rounds of double-aught buckshot, 66,000 rounds of 12 gauge slugs, 2 million rounds of hollow point 357 SIG, 4 million rounds of 40 S&W hollow points, 60,000 rounds of 308 match grade sniper rounds, hundreds of thousands of rounds of additional ammo, 38 special, 45 ACP, 9mm, Parabellum, 7.62 Huh? They must be ordering it from me, huh? Okay, I'll take delivery next weekend. Okay, y'all can bring them to the house. This is on top of 450 million rounds of 40 caliber S&W that they've already requisitioned, and these aren't the only ones. There's agency after agency that's ordered this stuff, including NOAA, the weather people. Okay, there's some excuse that they gave for that, but it was lame. And then somebody else, when it was mentioned on KPEL radio last week, somebody alleging to be a cop called in and said, "Well, that's for training." No, because certain agencies have suspended all training the rest of the year. We know this from somebody on the inside. What are they going to do with all this ammo, folks? Ask yourself that. Why all this oddball ammo? Allegedly, it is to do familiarization with other weapons. Why do they need to familiarize themselves with 22 rifles and 7.62 39 ammo, which is the primary AK round, by the way? It's peculiar, folks. It's real peculiar. But then again, look at it as potential resupply. Well, I just want, for those listening with government titles and that get a government paycheck, listen carefully to these quotes. To ensure communist victory in civil warfare, there arises the necessity of disarming the bourgeoisie and arming the workers, creating a communist army. Leon Trotsky in the Manifesto of the Communist International to the Proletariat of the Entire World. Only the Soviets can effectively arm the proletariat and disarm the bourgeoisie. Unless this is done, the victory of socialism is impossible. Lenin, Collected Works, March 4, 1919, page 466 of volume 28. Another one from that same volume, or same work, volume 29, page 108. One of the basic conditions for the victory of socialism, the arming of the workers and the disarming of the bourgeoisie. Lenin. Again, Lenin, make mass searches and hold executions for found arms. If the opposition disarms, well and good. If it refuses to disarm, we shall disarm it ourselves. Joseph Stalin replied at a discussion on the political reports of the Central Committee, December 7, 1927. From the horses' mouths. Alexander Solzhenitsyn, the great dissident, the great anti-communist Russian dissident, when he finally made it here to the U.S. back in the, 60s? That's when I really got cranking with this stuff, was back in the 60s. He was one of my inspirations. He said at a cocktail party, when asked by an upper-class elitist woman in a fur coat, which they even describe her in there. He describes her in there in his works. He's asked, well, is it true? Isn't it true, Mr. Solzhenitsyn, that the communists were only 10% of the population? He said, yes, madam, it's very true, but that 10% had 100% of the guns. Another instance that occurred during the Tiananmen Square massacre in Peking several years ago, some of you are old enough to remember that, some of you are not, but that's when the Chinese army, by the way, the first units on the scene refused to open fire on the college students in Tiananmen Square because they were from Peking. They were a Peking regiment or division, and they knew many of the people in the crowd, including relatives. So they refused to open fire on the crowd. So the Chinese government had to pull them out and put another unit in from out in the hinterland someplace. While the carnage was going on, people got out of the crowd and media actually interviewed them. And I saw this interview. One time, a young lady with a baby in her arms was asked by a reporter, "What can we do to help you?" And she said in fairly good English, good enough so I could understand it, "Give us guns." Folks, don't let them take your guns. Don't let them take them for any reason. If you watch the Falling Skies series, the crew in the last episode, second to last episode, I don't know if the last episode's played yet for the year, but in the episode where they finally make it to Charleston and they get in with those folks that are living underground that have a nice little community underground that's fairly safe, the second thing after welcoming them and giving them something to eat is the head guy, who is trusted by the second in command of the unit that they're following in the series. He orders them to turn in their guns. And they, at first, don't want to do that. And ultimately, they do. They give up their guns. And of course, this is the last thing you do, even in a situation like that. What if you're attacked? This happened in the Vietnam War all of the time. This is why you couldn't buy a commercial handgun in this country for a long time, or it was tough to get one, because Mama and Grandma were sending them to little Joey over there in Vietnam so he could have something in the hooch with him in his bunk, because their guns had to be, their issue weapons were locked up every night. In some cases, the ammo was in a different bunker, and they'd get hit by the VC sappers who'd come into the hooches killing people. Didn't have a weapon. What are you going to do, throw a pillow at them? Well, later on they needed to have their guns and didn't have them because they were locked up. Never give up your firearms, folks. And if you don't have a firearm and know how to use it, shame on you. Article 2 of the Bill of Rights requires that you do. You see, voting is not a right. Voting is not a requirement of citizenship. However, firearms ownership and proper handling thereof are requirements of citizenship. If you don't agree with that, well, what's that saying we put out every once in a while from Sam Adams? Go far from us and don't call yourself our countryman. The situation is only going to get worse with this stuff. Now, take heart. The folks that pay attention to these blogs, the AK Forum and others, are quite shocked at the response that they're getting or that they're seeing from people all over the country. And I'll just use what was reported about the unfortunate situation at that movie theater in Colorado. The following Monday, the gun shops did record business. What does that tell you? That the probable put-up job by this guy shooting up it probably was not what they said it was, okay? Since, first of all, the guy doesn't look anything like the fella he's supposed to be. Do we still have that on a clip, Tom? We're gonna look and see, and I'll show you the two pictures side by side of these two people, and you'll see that they're not the same individual. You can take various key points like nose, chin, etc. They're not the same guy. But folks are waking up all over the country, and calls for after these various incidents that have just occurred. The one in up north of Baton Rouge, where the 4, or was it 5, deputies were shot, 2 of them killed. I'm going to come to that in a minute in the context of what that thing really is. And but the initial reports were they had assault weapons. Well, so did the cops, for crying out loud. Only the cops would have had access to real assault weapons, which is a military type rifle that fires full auto or semi-auto. That's a true assault rifle. The ones that the people that shot the deputies probably didn't have those. But the media has to call anything that looks like an AK-47, they have to call it an AK-47 assault rifle, when there's very few real AK-47s in the country today. The only ones that are legal are registered with the feds. And by the way, none of them have ever been used. Got it? No? Oh, we don't have any more? Okay. We'll have to see if we can get that again. Okay. I'm going to come back to that situation in a little bit. There's a few interesting tidbits on that you need to know about. But first, the economy. I'm going to give you a number, and I'm going to tell you how it applies to the economy. $3.59. When Obama entered the White House, the average price of a gallon of gasoline was $1.85. Today, it's $3.59, approximately. 22. That's the percentage poverty rate for children living in the United States, 22%. Are we a third world country now? First off, anytime you hear poverty rate, understand something, folks. People in this country, and in most of the developed country, if you want to call it that, the Western world, whatever you want to call it, most of the folks in those countries are living better than royalty, the kings and queens and dukes and duchesses of the Middle Ages. Okay? Those people didn't have running water, etc., etc., etc. So you've got to put this into perspective. That doesn't mean we can't do something about the so-called poverty level and try and help people that need help because they can't help themselves. But folks are out there that don't need any help but are getting all kinds of government help. And that kind of stuff's got to stop. Here's an interesting quote from Aaron Zellman and L. Neil Smith in their latest book. Aaron Zellman was one of the founders of the Jews for the Preservation of Firearms Ownership that y'all all need to join. He's now deceased. He just recently died. We've had some of his video. Hartwell's been showing a lot of his stuff. We've got copies of a lot of their stuff available. Last year, 53% of all U.S. college graduates under the age of 25 were either unemployed or underemployed. A recent Gallup poll, 60% of all Americans say they have enough money to live comfortably. Only 60%. 61%. Although at this point, the Federal Reserve is essentially monetizing much of the national debt, the Federal Reserve bought up approximately 61% of all government debt issued by the Treasury during 2011. That's what the quantitative easing was about. 63, that's the percentage of all Americans that believe the U.S. economic model is broken. 71% of all small business owners believe the economy is still in a recession. But possibly because of the things we just read, 80% of all pain pills sold on the entire globe each year are purchased by Americans. 80%. And what's our percentage of the population? Maybe we have more of those side diseases like stress, etc. 86% of American workers in their 60s say they'll continue working past their 65th birthday. 90. In the United States, the wealthiest 1% of all Americans have a greater net worth than the bottom 90% combined. Again, you've got to take that, though, with a grain of salt because of the numbers involved. Look at the numbers, okay? These 90% net worth, that includes on paper, folks, okay? And most of the worth, the net worth of the country is on paper. It's not real. It's fake. So you may hear these figures of 90%. You may hear that some CEO of a Wall Street firm got a golden parachute of $100 million in stock options. Well, what is that really worth, though? Okay? Yeah, on paper, he can put that on an application for a loan that he's got that for net worth, but that doesn't mean anything in reality. How much milk, how much meat, how much carrots, how much broccoli is he going to be able to buy with that $100 million in stock options? I know he can't buy anything from me with a stock option, especially soon. And of course, there's another one. The average CEO now makes approximately 350 times as much as the average American worker. Okay. Well, by the same token, the heads of the government workers' unions make over 5 times what the membership makes. But a very large percentage of their membership's making over $100,000 for a government worker. So it's all relative. But here's something that you need to keep in mind. In 2010, China produced 627 million metric tons of steel. The U.S. only produced 80 metric tons of steel. 80 metric tons of steel here versus 627 tons of steel in China in 2010. Granted, their steel is not the same quality, and there's been some problems. Granted, that's correct. But all the same, that's a product that is for sale in the international market. And as a sign of the times, 20,000 workers recently applied for 877 jobs at a Hyundai plant in Montgomery, Alabama. 20,000 applications for just 877 jobs. And I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. Oh, China. Here's another good factoid about China to keep in mind. A Jeep Grand Cherokee that costs $27,490 in the U.S. costs about $85,000 in China thanks to all the tariffs. Okay, that's called fair trade? Wait a minute. There's Chinese stuff coming in this country that don't have anywhere near these percentages of tariffs on them. Why is that? Ask yourself, how come they're getting away with it? And the U.S. government is allowing the Chinese to slide. Well, some would say because they own the U.S. government. And they got a big piece of it anyway. But the U.S. lost more than 56,000 manufacturing facilities since 2001. The facilities, that's not jobs. How many people did those 56,000 manufacturing facilities employ? Again, small shops, maybe cranking out one little part as a subcontractor for something bigger, yeah. But still, 56,000 times how many jobs? $175,587 the Obama administration spent to find out if cocaine causes Japanese quail to engage in sexually risky behavior. I guess they paired them up with a bobcat or something. I can't imagine what would be sexually risky for a quail. But other than that, $2 million. That's how much the national debt is rising every single minute. 5,400,000. That's how many people are now unemployed in the U.S. versus how many were unemployed when he took office. Half that number. 2.7 million versus 5.4 million now unemployed. Or when this was written, I should say. Probably more than that now. 46,405,204 are the number of people currently on food stamps. When Obama first entered the White House, there were only 32 million on food stamps. 14 million more people on food stamps now than when Obama took office. What does that tell you? J.P. Morgan lost $2 billion in derivatives trades gone bad. Many analysts are convinced the real number will actually end up being much higher. You know about derivatives? Derivatives are a strange animal that was devised. It's totally fictional. It doesn't exist except on paper and in the minds of some computer. But it's enough that people have mortgaged themselves to the hilt to get involved in this thing. But derivatives, the derivatives market, the derivatives exposure in this country is greater than everything the country's worth. There's more in derivatives than the country is worth completely. Go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
Good evening, Tom. How you doing?
Hey there.
That's Lynn. It's been a while. I was just for the last few months I've had other obligations on Wednesday, so I couldn't watch you. But I just wanted to make a couple of quick comments. You talked about food stamps just now. I'm sure you've seen that ad that's been running by the United States Department of Agriculture, encouraging people to sign up for food stamps. That's nice, huh?
Yeah.
You saw it, I'm sure, huh?
Yeah, I've seen it. And again, it's typical of what they're doing, okay? They're trying to get people indebted to the government so they think that they should vote for Obama coming up in November. That's the main reason for this kind of stuff happening right now. But it's for long-term purposes also. They think this is going to keep the communist progressives in power. Is bottom line. So, I mean, it's bizarre. It really is.
And I have a question. I mean, it's a serious question. You know, I'm not going to go into the details because I know you saw some of the statements that Joe Biden made last week when he was in Virginia. You know, about he didn't know we were in the 21st century. He didn't know he was in Virginia, thought he was in Carolina. But anyway, what I want to know is, how can somebody this dumb get to be vice president? Can you answer this question?
Because they don't plan on him becoming president. That's how. I know. It really strikes you as odd that they would do that with somebody. If anything were to happen to Obama, then I would bet you that Biden would, one way or the other, have a heart attack so that he couldn't take his place. Okay? And then they would make sure that the Speaker of the House couldn't take his place somehow. That which would leave the president of the head of the Senate, Harry Reid, would then become president. But there again, they might want Biden in there as president.
I've heard some reports the last couple of days that, I mean, of course, that was on MSNBC. The other numbnuts say there's some reports coming out of the White House that Biden might be thinking about running in 2016.
Well, that would only be in case that the entire Democratic Party below him died.
Yeah. I guess Hillary Clinton would have to die too. Huh?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna make one more comment before I'm gonna let you go. I called in last night to Mark, to Talkmeister's Mark Pope, and matter of fact, I talked to him after the show off the air, and he said, "Was that a joke or you were serious?" I said, "No, I was dead serious." There's not many shows I watch on television, but I was walking through the living room last night, and the show my wife watches every week is called Repo Games.
Oh yeah,
okay.
I've seen it.
Have you seen it already?
I haven't watched it. I know what it's about.
Yeah. Anyway, real quick, it's you have a chance to answer 3 out of 5 questions, and if you answer them right, they won't repossess your car. You get to keep it, and the organization that sponsors this, they pay your car out for you. But anyway, they had a black guy, I guess about in his maybe, I don't know, late 40s, early 50s last night, Okay, he missed the first question. I won't tell you what it was. I'll tell you after. Okay, he got the second, third, fourth right, so he got to keep his car because he got 3. All you need is 3, but 3 out of 5. The first question was, and that's one of the first things I've ever seen in my life, and I'm almost 56 years old, Tom. That's too many things I haven't heard. They asked this guy. The first question was, what legendary character or person, whatever it was, took from the rich to give to the poor? And you know what this guy said?
Obama?
Exactly. He said Barack Obama. Listen to me. So Mark Pope kept saying, him and I went to school together. I called him back. I said, no, listen, I'm dead serious. It was on Repo Games tonight. Now, it goes to show you how the mentality of this country, just...
Well, that's what they want. See, that's the kind of mentality they want in these people. That's why there needs to be an intelligence test to vote.
My wife doesn't get too excited about things, but she's like, I can't believe what the guy just said that. It was hilarious. Yeah, he missed the first question. He didn't know Robin Hood. He was lucky. I was pulling for the guy to get the next 3 right so he wouldn't lose his car. But can you imagine?
Yeah.
That's the mentality all these people have. Well, look, Tom, I enjoyed talking to you, and I'll talk to you a little bit later.
Thanks,
Lynn.
And it's got nothing to do with who the guy was. There's people all over the country, all kinds of folks that have that same mentality. This is what they want. This is why the school system's the way it is for everybody. Okay, and of course now that they're doing these vouchers see what they're doing, they're making the private and church schools dependent upon government also, both directly and indirectly. The more people with government vouchers they can get going into these private schools and these church schools, the more swing they're going to have over determining what those schools are going to teach in the future. Not only that, the more legal hold they're going to have. And there was actually a case on that several years ago that I told you all about a few years back when it first came out. The case involved a small Christian college that the feds came in and said that they had to do something with their curriculum. There was something that the Department of Education wanted this school to do. And the school fought them. They went all the way to court with it. They fought them because we're not getting any federal money. We don't owe anything to the federal government. The federal government can't tell us what to do because we're not taking any of their money. And in court, they proved that they were getting money. They had one student on the GI Bill. And that one student getting money from the federales on his GI Bill and then going to this school, that's federal money going into that school. And that was enough for the school to lose the case. One guy getting GI Bill money, okay? That was years ago. Now when you see what they're doing with these vouchers, you see what they're doing? They're getting the private and the parochial and the church schools beholden to government. They're getting them under their thumb. Because what historically is happening in this country, those schools outshine, they outclass in every category, almost across the board. Everything that is done in spelling bees, in math contests, everything, science contests, they beat the heck out of the public schools. So that's the reason for these vouchers, folks. Yeah.
But they don't beat the homeschoolers.
Not the homeschoolers, though, right? The homeschoolers are at the top of the list. They beat the parochial and private and church schools all to heck. But again, they've tried to control the homeschooling in some places, and in some countries, the parents that are homeschooling their children have gone to jail. Germany is one I know specifically. Of course, what do you expect from Germany, Sig Heil? That's the home of, the birthplace of our school system, indirectly through Sparta, then to Prussia, and then to the U.S. of A. And the reason for the Prussian school system being the way it was set up was to make sure they didn't lose another war, because they had just lost the war with their war with France back in the 1800s, late 1800s, And they said, well, we got to turn these people into better citizens so they make better soldiers. That's what the school system was for, was creating automatons to fight their wars. And it was adopted by some of these progressives from the 30s that went over there and said, what a good school system the Prussians have. And by the way, they visited the Prussian school system while it was out for the summer, so they didn't get to see what it was really doing. All right, we'll come back. We got some more newsy items, so if you got your calls, jot down your questions and call in, questions and comments. We'll be back in 4 minutes and a half. Throw up that Sam Adams quote, Tom, if you got it handy. There you go. Read that, folks. Read it and weep.
Did they hear me cough? They heard me cough.
One thing they're doing is taxing the people more and more to where
Thanks.
both couples are gonna